Tallboys and Trackmasters is brought to you by Expert Exhaust. Expect more for your money. KDR Suspension. Unlock your full potential with KDR. High Gear Success. From helping riders get sponsored to motorsports event operation and promotion, shift your passion into high gear. Track 93. The place to get ready to race. And by IADV. From routes, guided tours, and more, we'll help you get lost.
Yeah, for some reason, when I see a lump, my sphincter tightens, I start to tremble, I go all sweaty.
I'm a big fan of the 1.5 pork chop cans, personally.
You gotta make sure you get your protein and carbohydrates all in one shot.
Yep.
Nice looking bike.
That thing would look good with a hot fender too.
Yes,
It's
it would.
got
Yeah.
got the line.
Yes, it does.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 92 of Tallboys.
And Trackmasters. Hang on, let me grab this thing.
Oh, that's the man can.
25 fluid ounces for $1.69, dude. If I was unemployed, this would be the greatest thing ever.
That's the greatest thing ever as an employed man, bud.
Cheers, buddy.
That looks like the ones you get at the MLB ballparks where the guys are like taping them together and trying to make a lance out of them. It's like that's
I think it's a stud. I saw it at the gas station. I was like, yep, gotta have it.
Imagine how many ignition covers we could fix with that can.
Oh man, you do ignition covers, clutch side covers, engine case halves, maybe even valve covers.
Valve covers, make a whole skid plate. Shout out Chad Johnson. We'll get into that here shortly. But yeah, happy to be back. And make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you can. Episode 92, Event Etiquette. So Trevor and I were fortunate enough to go down to the Red River Scramble put on by Mr. Drew Faulkner there last weekend. And I had a good time. How about you?
I had a great time. That was really my first big ride back on a bike since my hospital tour last year. And everything was great. It was crazy to me that they had publicly available single track that just trails that's pretty much exclusive to, dual sport, dirt bikes, etc. I mean, we don't have that here, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But, it's a great time.
Yeah, the stuff at Lago was really surprising to me. Again, to be able to roll out of bed and go 20 feet into the woods and start hitting some really awesome stuff was great in my opinion. And that was really the first time I've got to push the 700 in that type of terrain. And I was really fortunate to do that. And just that whole area, Red River Gorge is an awesome place to go and explore.
Cool terrain.
Yeah, very cool terrain.
Extremely dry.
Yeah.
And accordingly extremely dusty. Like I change air filters like when we get back to camp.
Yeah, I did Friday night too.
Yeah, it's pretty dirty. Of course, our big adventures weren't without their hiccups, but everybody made it back to camp safely.
It's all that matters, man.
Yep.
So having said that, and obviously with us doing the 304 detour, we kind of had this idea of, maybe you're a new person to a dual sport event, or maybe you're a seasoned veteran and you just like to hear some new stuff about some do's and don'ts and some tips and tricks that we can try to help provide for you all if you're going to think about going to a dual sport or adventure motorcycle event. And I mean, a lot of this stuff is probably common knowledge, and it's just, it can also kind of translate to camping in general, because let's face it, most of the series in this sport tend to be at a campground. So a lot of that stuff will translate as well. But Trevor, I'll let you go with the first do.
All right, let me pull my list up here. It really takes it out of me having to hoist that monster. So your list's a little bit different than mine.
Yeah.
But what I had on mine that was common between the two of ours was reviewing your routes and planning your rides ahead of time. If you want to get the most out of a trip, I think that's an absolute necessity.
I would 100%
So that
agree.
includes GPX files, online mapping, you know where you're going and everything. Watch whatever YouTube content you can find for that area. And keep in mind that the camera doesn't do it justice. Like Shiloh and I were sitting on the couch last night watching some of the stuff from Humbling Hollows, and it looks like you ride a skateboard over a lot of it.
Yeah.
But you know, in reality, it was pretty haggard in a couple sections.
It definitely was. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And, you know, you also have to kind of look at what kind of event is it? You know, is it a pick your own adventure, kind of like the Red River Scramble is, which is very different, interesting, and cool in its own way? Is it a full-on guided ride like the Fool's Rally that Kane puts on? Is it something like we do where, you know, you have a GPX file and you kind of follow that with some support along the way? But yeah, if you want to get the most out of your weekend, planning ahead, obviously that's a big thing, and you know that can kind of cater to whatever your skill level is as a rider too. Don't be the guy that's out there riding the two-stroke with the adventure bikes out there, you know, or vice versa. If you're a mediocre adventure bike rider and you're out there on the Lagos single track, like, you know, ride within your skill level, and that could dictate what your route plan is going to be for the weekend. I lost Trevor.
Hang on, was that you? Was that me?
I don't know.
I don't know.
There you go. Now you're back.
All right. But yeah, being the guy on the two-stroke, following the adventure bikes around.
That tends to not be good for anybody, really. You know?
No. Something else, too, that goes into your pre-planning is fuel stops.
Yeah.
Super important, especially if you're running a stock size gas tank, which, you know, can't relate. And something else, too, that I realize on this trip that would be worthwhile is to take the time to pinpoint like Dollar Generals, gas stations, hardware stores, like places that would have things that you might need to fix a bike if you get it stuffed up in the absolute middle of nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we can dive into that. We ran into that twice, actually. Luckily, the first one, there wasn't anything that we were going to find at a Dollar General, but old buddy Justin had it on hand. So on my 700, I forget the name of the road. We were going up this hill. There was a really sharp left-hand turn, and you could see where everybody had kind of been banking the high wall to carry speed up around the turn. And not only that, it was also to avoid a big rock shelf that you couldn't see. It was kind of a blind corner. And I hit that thing and slid down the high wall right into the rock and absolutely obliterated the kickstand switch on my 700 gas. So, you know, doing that is something that, you know, on that generation 700 now, it's not simply just wiring around the kickstand switch. It has to see that signal to the ECU before it'll ever even let the bike turn over. So lucked out there that Justin had a Vanchi Motorsports dongle bypass in his backpack that he hadn't put on yet. So was able to get that and get me going. And then obviously the freak sinkhole that we found on the 3130 route that Chad flipped.
The filthy 150.
Yeah. So it was something crazy and just a freak little flip over, and then punched the hole in the ignition cover with a shifter. It was about the size of a quarter or so. And that turned into a whole scramble for oil and for finding a beer can and using JB Weld. Like, we had to MacGyver it back together, but took some time, but we did get it back out of there.
I had one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But following that incident, I'm going to start carrying more pieces of that puzzle. I had JB Weld that I always carry. The future will be quick cure. James, I did try to email you the pictures I took of Chad's stator cover.
Yeah, let me
come through and post them up.
Yes, sir. Give me 1 second. I can get those on here.
start carrying Quick Cure JB Weld. Probably start carrying like pre-cut thin aluminum squares.
Yeah.
In the event you can't find a beer can, which was absolutely crazy to me that we had difficulty finding a beer can. Because
Yeah,
like in West Virginia, they're all over.
Yeah, it was funny. I kind of went up that old dried out creek bed and ran into the guy on a 4-wheeler that luckily had a Keystone Light can. So not only was Chad's ignition switch or ignition cover fixed correctly, it was smooth like Keystone.
It was indeed smooth.
I got the pictures here, so give me 1 second. And this was on Chad's KTM 500 EXC. So, yeah, you can see that was after we kind of cleaned it up. And again, like a quarter size hole right through the ignition cover. And that was first application of JB Weld.
Made it home, didn't leak.
Yeah, it was good to go the rest of the day. So,
I've made a fix like that on AJ's water pump outlet on his Honda, and he ran it like that for like 4 months.
Yep.
So that was pretty crazy stuff, JB Weld.
Yep.
I was surprised that thing puked out a quart of oil that quick. Well, I mean, we were all speculating based on what was like on the ground and everything. It's like, oh, it's like maybe a quarter of a cup or something like that. No, man, it was like a whole quart.
Yeah, it took a quart and a quarter almost before it finally come up to the top of the sight glass, and it just kept filling up. So I think, this is a good segue into one of my don'ts that I have, and that's don't show up unprepared, either your bike or your camping setup, what have you. Make sure that you have everything you need. You don't want to be the guy that's mooching off of everybody else, whether it's people in the group that you're riding with or people around you at camp, bumming food, bumming just anything like that. And but you can also kind of be on the other end of that spectrum and bring too much stuff and be the guy that's taking up, a whole acre of campsite around you. So
yeah, that's something that does need to be talked about, that I had as a point of like being considerate of your neighbors. So that includes things like noise, especially like later at night or early in the morning. Because I mean, for me at least, a good night's sleep's pretty important to be able to get up and ride well. A lot of these areas, especially if you're camping in like, campgrounds where we camped, it was, we'll just say flat space was at a premium. So if you're not considerate when you're parking, you accidentally park people in, or, I mean, you only do so much to a certain extent,
right.
But there's stuff that you can do to make it easier on everybody else. Something else too is kind of maybe a little bit controversial, but it's like tailor what you're bringing to the event that you're going to. If you're not camping out for a week, maybe leave your 40-foot tow behind at home and opt for something that's a little bit more maneuverable and easy.
Yeah.
Because, man, they had guys stuffed in like sardines. I don't think I saw a single tent pitched on a flat patch. Like everything was like at some kind of angle. And
yeah, I think that's the way that it seems a lot of these events. I mean, we're no different at the Detour. I mean, how many toy haulers we have dragging up in there and taking up lots of spots. So, yeah, I would say the same thing. It's like it does seem like there's a good majority of the people that maybe they're not there for the ride. They're there to camp. You know what I mean? And
we're there for the vibe. I mean, I do
Right.
feel that a lot of people just crave the vibe of an event like that.
And I get that too. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I've been one of the ones that's up partying until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, drinking beer, being too loud. But yeah, try to be considerate of your neighbors. I know we had a guy down below us that ran his generator all night long, and like yeah, I'm glad you have air conditioning, but no one else can sleep around you.
Well, here's the thing. Next time we go to an event like that, I'm going to take the factory quad exhaust off my generator and get like an FMF shorty for a
There you go.
And I'm going to run it all night just for white noise. That's my emotional support generator. But
just like a straight.
Something else that I was surprised with that I hadn't really observed at other events was people bringing dogs that just barked like nonstop all night. Even if it was my dog, it would annoy me.
Yeah.
That's, just something.
Yeah. I think was it Sunday morning when we woke up
Yeah.
to leave? Yeah, there was a chocolate lab just going crazy, like no collar, no leash, just running through the tents and everything. And
It barked once. I thought it was under my truck, like
yeah, well,
under my bed camper.
it
and
was
barked.
right outside my tent. I heard the thing panting. I'm like, what is going on out here outside?
Is Trevor looking for action this early?
Why are you out of breath, dude? What have you been doing? No, I mean, I love dogs just as much as everybody else. But yeah, I mean, in a way, I feel like that's kind of unfair to the animal too. If you bring it there and you're just going to be riding all weekend and you're only there at nighttime. But to each their own. But that just goes back to the point we're trying to make of be respectful of everybody else around you. Pick up your trash, and be friendly. That's another dude.
Yeah.
Like
if you want
congregate, get to know some other people, some other riders.
Yeah, if
That's
you
what
want
it's
to
all
meet
about.
interesting
Talk about the
people,
vibe.
you're not going to do it by being that guy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see. One of my big dues at any type of event, and I think this might go overlooked slightly, and I really do want to make this point, is when you go to an event, spend money. A lot of these places that have these big events are in, shall we say, downturned places, and economically poor,
logging towns,
right? Especially in Appalachia, where a majority of our events that we're going to be going to are. So, if you look at just say the Shenandoah 500, they take a lot of that money to buy food for food shelters in that area. I donate a good bit of the money that we make back to the WVU Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
You look at Backroads of Appalachia, they pick a good charity to donate most of their funds to. And then there's also, a lot of causes and stuff that you can donate to on site. And then beyond that, like, going to mom and pop diners around where you're at, spending money at the gas stations around, like, I don't think people realize how much of an economic impact that these events can have on some, less fortunate areas and communities and that they're based out of.
For sure. Make sure you buy Dollar General's finest oil.
Yeah. That was Chad stemmed the economy in Sand Gap, Kentucky.
He did. Absolutely. God bless him.
Yeah. So
that's
again,
what I'm still trying to figure out is the logistics of carrying a quart of oil, like in a trail bag or something that isn't like really obstructive or something like that.
Yeah. I think I could do it with my Nelson rig setup that I've got, because it has the flaps for the MSR fuel bottles.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about that. I was thinking about putting one bottle for fuel and one bottle for oil, spare oil. Yeah. Heck, we use the fuel bottle to clean the ignition cover up with. So.
Yeah, that's something that anytime you have to JB weld something on a bike, I'll just go ahead and throw this tip out here. First and foremost is get it as clean as you possibly can. So like using a file on a Leatherman or something like that works really good. You could also just use a rock.
Yeah.
If you had to. But your bike, so long as it has fuel, you've got solvent to clean everything up before you apply the JB weld, and it really helps. If you've got oil impregnated metal, that stuff just won't adhere.
Yeah, definitely. One of the big don'ts, my number one don't at a dual sport or adventure motorcycle event, and I will be the first one to raise my hand and say that I am actually guilty of this a good bit of the time. And that's, don't treat the dual sport or adventure bike race as a race. It's not a race. It's not a hair scramble. You're not going to get a plaque or points, anything like that. There's lots of places out there. I'm sure it's good to open it up, let it rip. And we did that all weekend long, but you don't want to be the guy that's flying through residential areas or coming around corners blind that you've never ridden before. And let's face it, like, especially down there and where we do our event, these are county roads and they're open to all forms of traffic and travel. Hell, the Chateau Trace Trail that we did was open to horses and hikers, and we were flying out that one. So, that is the absolute quickest way to get these things shut down and to the point where they're not around anymore. So
something else too is, on the subject of it not being a race, is if you're behind somebody that's slow, like if you're behind me or somebody like that, right? Pass them in a way that's sensible.
Yeah.
You do not be that guy that thinks pretends this is a hair scramble or GNCC event and like bangs bars with somebody that's just out there to go have a good time.
Right.
Because we've seen it happen, and you don't want to be the guy that ruins somebody's fun weekend because you're impatient and can't put your ego down long enough to just go have an easy trail ride.
That's a great point, man. I mean, how many times are these events maybe the one time that a guy has enough vacation to go off and ride his dual sport with a bunch of his buddies, and doing something like that ruins your whole year, injures you, takes you out, ruins your bike, what have you. Yeah. It's, there's plenty of places to test your skill, especially in an area like we ride or say like the Red River Gorge or other events. But, you can do that without trying to set lap records and stuff.
Agreed.
So, got any other ones so far?
Let's look at the list. Well, we did already touch on littering. So not littering yourself. If you see it, pick it up. Like there were a couple instances while we were there this past weekend that I'd find like little Debbie wrappers, stuff like that. Just pick it up, throw it in a garbage bag. And that's another way to get things shut down quick, especially, if the group putting on the rod doesn't own the campground. It's a pretty quick and easy way to get blacklisted is leaving a bunch of garbage. Something else too is, this goes back to you being considered your neighbor, stuff like that. Rooster tails are cool on your property. Don't be the guy that's ripping a rooster tail through the campground, because that's another quick and easy way to get a bad name for the group that's putting the rod on.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. I had in my dues is, if research what the type of event it is, like you said, get on YouTube, get on social media, figure out, what you're getting yourself into, and then make sure that you're following whatever specific event or campground rules that they have. That, like you said, disobeying that stuff is the quickest way to get it shut down. I know down there at Lago Linda, there was like a 10-mile-an-hour speed limit leaving, and everybody was obeying that. Same thing with up where we are at Bunners Ridge Park. You keep all the pit riding and stuff to a minimum, and rip it in the woods, not on the track. And it's worked out great for us because they were hesitant to even let us have our event up there the first year that we did it. Yes. Simply because of all the side-by-sides had a big event up there a couple years beforehand and just absolutely ruined the place. And they've not kicked us out yet, so we must be doing something right. Another big do that I have for any type of dual sport or adventure event is leave feedback after it's over. A lot of times you'll see at registration or even after the fact, they'll send you a survey. Take the time to fill that thing out, because nothing can improve if the event coordinators don't know about it. If there was something you loved, let them know. They'll continue to do that. If there's something you didn't like, let them know so they can take care of the situation before it becomes something that's, continuous year after year. And I think that's something that a lot of people just kind of put in their spam folder and delete, or they just don't even bother to do. But, feedback, whether it's good or bad, can have a huge impact on future events.
Or something else that people like to do, as opposed to delivering feedback directly to the group putting on the event, is just hopping on Facebook and trashing it.
Yeah.
That's not, there's a significant amount of work that gets put into all events.
Right.
I mean, we've had a window into it, probably more so than we like a lot of the time. But especially like people that complain about events that are outside of the group's control, like weather related stuff.
Yes.
Of course, Red River Scramble, we had fantastic weather compared to what it was last year.
Yeah. No hurricanes this time.
Yeah, but yeah, feedback's important, like objective feedback, and not just, this
Yeah, don't
sucks. I hated it. I'll never do this again. It's like, well, explain what wasn't ideal about it.
right. Exactly. Yeah, it's hard to do that. You cannot please everybody, and if you try to do so, you're not going to have a good event. But you know, listing things that you liked and things that you didn't like, and you can kind of get a general consensus if you have enough responses from your feedback survey of what works, what didn't work. Maybe it's something you're trying new and that was the first year you tried it and nobody liked it. That's fine. Just, move on. Don't do it again next year. But, that also goes back to, like you were kind of saying there, so much work, dedication, and effort goes into putting these things on that people just that have never done it will never know. So, regardless, if you got to go out and ride your motorcycle and you didn't die and you had a decent weekend, thank the people that put it on and put it together. It's a lot of hard work. It goes a long way. Let's see.
I got a good one. I know
ahead.
it was one of your points, but I'll just go ahead and throw it in there.
Yep.
Is don't steal.
Yes, that was my next point. Yeah.
So don't steal is in don't be the one guy out of like a private riding group that shows up to this event, collects all the maps, and then you and your boys just come back and ride it whenever for, nothing essentially. I'm not saying don't come back and ride the trails, post event or something like that, but there is a distinct type of person that that's really their plan, showing up to events. And if you've got private landowner sections like we do, you have GPX data for, and you have somebody show up 4 months after the ride with a group of guys thinking they're going to roll right through there, it's not a good look.
It's not. And I could go on blast for several companies that I know that advertise publicly that do this. They will send one person to an event and download all the files, get a vibe, get it figured out, and then they'll sell those files and do guided tours on something that somebody else has already worked their butt off event-wise.
Yep.
I've seen, it depends on how the registration's set up and how prepay and that sort of thing works, but I've seen it firsthand where one person will show up to the event, pay for the ride, get the routes, get everything, and then they have a van full of 10 of their buddies down the road that are going to meet with them and do the whole event for free. Like, come on.
Why didn't we think of that?
And I mean, that you're never going to stop that, and it's unfortunate. And I mean, it's not really anything like legally unless you're trespassing, like you said, on maybe there's some places that are private property, but yeah, come on guys, we're better than that. Don't be stealing. Don't do that. It's terrible.
Well, I
know some people that do.
Yeah. We might have already touched on it, but ride as much as you can.
Yeah.
Get up early, get your coffee, get your breakfast, whatever, get out on the trails and go ride, especially like if it's somewhere new. I really just like seeing new terrain.
Same here.
New areas, like the big creek beds and stuff we rode through in Kentucky and that single track. I've not ridden anything like that here. Like I've ridden shorter creek sections, but that was really unique. But you already paid, you're already there. Provided you're uninjured and able, get up and ride as many days of the event as you can.
Yeah, I'm big on that. Especially if it's a new area like we went to there in Red River Gorge. And, that's one of my points here as well, kind of goes on with that. Take full advantage of what the event has to offer for you. If they're providing you food, eat all the food you can. If they're providing you with beer, like some of them do, drink all the beer you can drink for that weekend in moderation. Not really, but take
moderation.
If there's lots of things behind the scenes that, a lot of event coordinators will put together to try to make the experience even more memorable.
Yep.
So, if there's bands playing, go watch the band for a little bit. Spend some
It was
money.
pretty cool at Red River having a bluegrass group.
Yeah,
there.
I just
I
fit with
thought, the setting and the aesthetic and everything and
right,
location, that was really, really well fit
right.
for that.
And also there's lots of benefits to doing that. I know, Drew did it at Red River. We do it at the Detour. Lots of people have door prizes and giveaways. Like,
Yeah.
go up there to registration, buy some raffle tickets, or get your door prizes. Like, you could win some stuff for just showing up and participating.
Yeah, you probably actually stand a lot better chance of winning than you think, because you'd be surprised at how few people actually enter for a raffle to win like a set of tires or something like that.
Yeah, that's very true, and if you just show up and you don't, present yourself, or I'm there to ride, I got the blinders on, I don't care about anything else, you're going to miss out on some good opportunities like that. Heck, how many times did we give away tires at the 304 Detour, and there would be somebody that didn't win that tire standing right next to him, like, dude, I need that tire so bad, I'll give you $50 for it cash right now. And the guy sells the tire that he won and paid for his entire weekend.
Opening up the bidding, $50. Anybody got 51?
Yeah.
So
So take it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to kind of reiterate, just scroll social media or however they're putting the information out there, look through everything that they're offering, and just, if you can, take full advantage of it.
Yep. Something that I thought about is, especially if you fall in with a group of guys that are just new, you never rode with them before, you just happen to be on the same section of trail or whatever, is I don't even know how to word this without sounding contradicting. Help other riders where you can.
Yeah.
Like, somebody dumps a bike, somebody's having trouble, something like that. Help where you can, but not to the detriment of your own enjoyment of the event.
Yeah.
And also, don't be the guy that expects somebody to pick your bike up for you every time you drop it. At the end of the day, everybody's there mainly to go ride.
Right.
At some point, your issues are your issues, and
that kind of goes back to don't being that guy, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be that guy, but obviously if you're coming up on somebody like that, that's, they're riding alone, and maybe you've seen them around and they're kind of by themselves, kind of, if you can, take them under your wing a little bit, help them out. And that's the great thing about these events, like we kind of talked about it before, is just the vibe. You have so many like-minded people coming together from all walks of life, which we've mentioned on the show before. You have no idea what any of these people are going through, what their job is, and none of that matters. None of it matters at the end of the day. You're all there experiencing the outdoors and riding motorcycles together.
The only thing that matters at the end of the day is who has KTMs, so people can hate on them. We all know that.
That's true. It's very true. Very true.
I was taking the brake pads off my KTM, what would have been Friday night.
Yeah.
It was pretty squeaky. And there was a guy that made a comment about, working on KTM. I said, yeah, these things are junk. I'd never own one.
Yeah, there was another guy that was walking past, watching me try to beat the skid plate back into the recess hole in the foot peg mount when I smashed it there, and he's looking like, it's a brand new gas. What the heck's that guy doing? Like, well, I kind of used
a brand new gas.
Definitely was a new gas.
Prior to being owned by James Wright.
Hey, now I'm getting better. I will say, drinking that platform's Kool-Aid, the 690, 701, whatever. It doesn't do anything perfect, but my God, it does everything well. Like, and me, I ride the Africa Twin on stuff it shouldn't be on. I miss my 650R, but that just big bike brute strength and power I've missed so much. And my 500 is no slouch, but it just didn't have the torque quite like this bike does. And being a little heavier kind of helps you in some of that rough stuff. That thing just tracks straight as an arrow.
Yeah, there were a lot of times I was wishing for a little bit heavier bike or a little bit more compliant suspension. Because a lot of those, a lot of the rocks out there were like inset into the ground, and it would be like nothing but sharp square edge hits. And I just start pinballing,
Yeah.
lighter rider, light bike. So I could definitely see where some added weight would really help that suspension comply, and you've got that that inertia that wants to keep you going in line.
Yeah, I'll say there's been, and I think everybody kind of has like a top 5 in their mind of instances where maybe the terrain, the bike, what have you, was just flowing and working so perfectly together. And you were just on it every single turn, every obstacle, like there was no lost momentum. You were just crushing it. And I can remember in my life, like 5 or 6 times that's happened. And one of those would be the first time on Friday night where we hit Sheltoe up to that first gravel road. And we were all just kind of mixing it up together on there, dude. That was primo, one of my favorite times on a motorcycle.
Day 2, where we ran that single track up to that gravel road and then continued on, we hit that section where it got really flowy. Yeah. And then you'd hit the sections where it had almost like water breaks, staggered like at a pretty regular interval. So I had my moment with that. I was lofting my front end up over these things and getting to the point where like the back tire was perfectly following down into the water break. And then as it came off the crest, it was compressing the suspension out, and it was really great. And then I lofted the front end over one, like right down into a sand wash. Came out of nowhere. You'd round a corner out there and there'd just be a sand wash.
Yeah.
So that was, that made things interesting.
Yeah, it did. And Sheltoe itself was so interesting. Like,
oh yeah, it's like every 5 to 10 minutes on that trail was different terrain.
Yeah, it was like every single time you crossed one of the county roads, like gravel or pavement or what have you, you were in a completely different ecosystem every single time. Like, I've never experienced anything like that. And then the whole time I'm saying to myself, like, this is illegal. We're breaking the law. Motorcycles should not be on this hiking trail.
It felt pretty illegal to be out doing that. But my goodness, how cool is it that they have available single track on public land?
Yeah, dude, West Virginia needs to get with it and make that happen up here. That would be
so long as the Friends of Cheat exists. I don't think that it'll.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I don't know, man. I'd love for it to, especially some good shared use between mountain biking, hiking, horse riding, even like those trails. And I'd settle for like plated dirt bikes.
Yeah.
Just to get the foot in the door. It's like, if it's got a license plate, you can bring it, but you can't just bring your CR 250 with no title.
Why not?
$8,000, no low ballers. I know what I got.
Oh, don't get me started on that, dude. I'm that listed the 500 earlier today.
And that's funny. I meant to tell you, I found a clapped KTM 500 with an oversized gas tank on Facebook Marketplace earlier today.
What year was it?
Not a year I was interested in. Good luck selling that thing, man. I really don't like trying to sell stuff on Marketplace.
Yeah, it's no good. When
I was trying to sell the Beta, I don't know if I still have the message or not. I had a guy offer me an aluminum flat bottom boat, no trolling motor. He did specify no trolling motor, and like a Glock 9mm. It's like, okay, where's the other like $7,000 coming from?
I watched a clip one time. This guy was selling, I don't even remember what it was. It was like a Duramax pickup truck or something. And it wasn't a bad price. It was like under 200,000 miles. It was clean. He wanted like $7,000. Like, that's a good price for a diesel truck these days. And this guy was like, I'll give you $1,900 cash tonight. And he was like, sold, I'll take it. And the guy said, what's your address? And he sent him an address. He said, meet me here. And then the guy sent a picture. He said, dude, what the heck? I'm at such and such comedy club. He said, yeah, I know. Go on stage and tell your jokes there.
Or tell
Oh,
somebody to meet up at a location and then just no show and block them.
yeah. Yeah, that's funny too. Trying to think of some other dues is, you know, use the event as a jumping point to network too, I would say.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of people like us that put on events or rallies or other cool rides, and we're all in the same circles and stuff. And if you get out and you can network and meet new people, chances are you're going to find some new guys to ride with that might even be from your area. You might find some common ground and make new friends. Like, you know, that's a big key, I think, is do a little networking if you can, especially if you're people like us that do events or podcasts or what have you.
Yeah, that's that just goes back to taking full advantage.
Mm-hmm.
That's a serious advantage. And even beyond networking, it's just cool to talk to people. Like if you see a guy that, like, I really want to talk to the guy that had that flat nose Isuzu truck with a service bed on it.
Yeah, that thing was
just
sweet.
To see like why, like what series of decisions led you to this as a haul rig. Like not a guy come ask me about the camper setup I got in the back of my Tacoma.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Yeah. So that was cool. I always like to talk tech and stuff like that. But
well, you told him Schoonover Industries could help him out, but
yeah, that's why I should have. If he would have came up like Sunday morning and asked me about those vent panels,
yeah,
I'd been like, yeah, dude, I paid like $200 for these, but I'll make you a deal. I'll sell them to you for like $100.
Yeah. I remember, I think it was after Friday, after we did the Humbling Hollows, stopped up at the little registration area there and got off the bike. And I was talking to Drew there for a minute, and this guy come up and he was like, he said, dude, that's a huge tablet. I love that. Like, you know, what brand is that? Is that one of those DMDs? And I was able to tell him what it was. You know, it was just a cheap Amazon one running DMD. Guy had no idea that was even an option. And I spent maybe 10 or 20 minutes with him, kind of showing him everything and what you could do for that price point. And like, as he was walking away, he had Amazon pulled up and was getting ready to order it. So, you know, that's another probably do, you know, if you talk to people, you can mesh ideas and maybe help somebody out that's looking for something, or maybe you even get some ideas and tips and tricks and stuff to do.
Not being afraid. Like if you see somebody with a mod on their bike that you've been interested in, wanting to try, just go talk to them about it.
Yeah.
You know, don't be bashful. I never mind when somebody comes and asks anything really. I think it was Saturday night we got back. There was like 3 guys that were convinced that my 350 was a stretch wheelbase.
Yeah, that was funny.
Like,
no, it's just 350.
That was interesting.
Yeah. That also kind of goes back to, you know, you meet people from all walks of life, and it's just such a cool vibe to mix people together with. And there's some characters out there, especially if you come down to our campsite where you see that big crew cab Ford truck. You'll meet some interesting people down there.
You will meet some characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe one of those characters will dump the contents of his cooler 5 times in 30 yards.
All right, I'll tell that story because that was pretty good.
That was hilarious. Tell him about how you felt great until you stood up.
Yeah. So, and Aaron Orr, who's my buddy on the Africa Twin too. He come down and hung out with us. He can attest to this. So, you know, we got back to camp. It was like 5:30, 6 o'clock on Friday evening, and you know, took a shower and we had the campfire going over there with Nick and Justin and Chad, and I take my cooler over there, and I had a nice 12-pack of the banquets there, and some other miscellaneous beers and some cigars, you know, just relaxing, having a good time. And I drank that entire 12-pack. I drank 4 other beers. I think I drank like 2 or 3 of Chad's beers and smoked that whole cigar. And then, it was like midnight almost at that point. I was like, all right, it's time for bed. As soon as I stood up, it hit me all at one time, and I was immediately drunker than a skunk. And here I have to drag my chair and my cooler, maybe 150 yards, and it kind of went down this little knoll and back up to where
And
our tent was.
slopes like
Yeah.
off camber too.
So my cooler's got the pull handle lid on it, and I'm dragging it down through there, and I keep dumping the cooler over and over and over, and everything
Like
keeps
10
falling out.
foot from some dude's tent.
I know, and I'm like, yeah, that goes back to don't be an asshole.
Yeah,
when
after
you
we
make
talked
noise,
about don't be that guy. Like
I was that guy that night.
sometimes it happens.
But I'm like, I cannot fathom why this cooler keeps doing this. It keeps falling apart. I'm like, what is wrong with this thing, you know? And then here I figure out that I'm so drunk that I've retched over the front of the cooler and I'm dragging it backwards, and it's going like this and flopping around and then making the lid fall over. I was like, oh, well, that explains it.
Once you did that the second time, I turned my flashlight off and like shielded my face.
I don't know this guy.
Hightailed it back to my truck.
Good times. Good times.
It was a great time.
Yeah, it was. Anytime you can get together with your riding buddies, make some new friends, experience a new area. Yes, that's what it's all about.
That was
And
what
we
I
are-
needed. I had a significant linear increase in confidence as the weekend went on.
I could see it, man. I was, me and Chad and Justin and Nick had the Sennas going, and I was saying that the whole time. Like even they were talking, like you could see your speed coming back up. And I think it might've been Chad. He was saying that he's like, this should be a movie called How Trevor Got His Groove Back.
Yeah, that was the first big dirt section we hit. It was the same one we hit Friday. We hit it Saturday morning.
Oh yeah.
And
The first
I
day.
had like a vague memory of what everything was like, but dude, coming out around those mud holes, I felt like Malcolm Smith. And Chad was saying something like, "Oh yeah, the steering turned to the locks, and I couldn't take the same lines that you were." And I was like, "Well, that was purely on accident, and that was probably the peak of my day."
Yeah. I will say with the Sennas, it was nice kind of being back towards the back, because usually you guys make me lead all the time, but it was awesome to know, like I'm blasting around, and you hear Nick in front go like, ugh. And then you heard Chad like, oh man, oh. Then Justin like, oh my God. You knew something bad is coming up. Something horrible is coming up.
Yeah.
And then there'd be like a
You
big
see,
G out.
you were getting pace notes. I was back there raw dogging it.
Yeah.
Most of the time, I wasn't
Trying to
even
give me hand
close enough to one of you guys that I couldn't even follow somebody else's line. I was just making up as I went along. So, but yeah, helmet comms do seem pretty cool.
Yeah, it's something that I've adopted earlier this year, and I'm glad we did it. And it's you would think that maybe it'd be too much chatter going on, but really, I mean, you make a couple jokes, talk about what's going on, and then there's silence for a long time. So I've been happy with the headset so far. Can you think of anything else, my friend?
I think we touched on mostly what I consider to be the important stuff for attending.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. A lot of that stuff kind of is common sense, but it also meshes together well, like a do and a don't. So, I think at the end of the day, just take full advantage of any events that you can attend. Spend money where you can. Don't be a butthead the whole time you're there. Follow the rules and just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, just show up with the intent of having a really good time. Yeah. I think I will get you really far.
It will. Absolutely. That's good stuff. Let's go through some of our comments we got tonight. We appreciate everybody tuning in, as always. We have Miss Heather Wilson. She said, hey, fellas. Said she hasn't had the pleasure of attending Drew Faulkner's Red River Scramble yet, but know the effort that Drew puts into it. I did get to camp at Lago Linda Hideaway before, thanks to his recommendation, but not for the event. Yeah, it was a good campground. I've stayed at way worse ones than Lago Linda. She said this would be perfect to share on Momentum Motorsports when you're guests. The etiquette is definitely learned, not just something for everyone mainly knows, especially for non-racing events. The racers need to chill and give us time to pull over safely. She hadn't had the pleasure. Oh, okay. I think it's just double posting.
Yeah, it's like posting duplicate comments from both her profile and Facebook.
She said she's the one that brings too much food always. I never want to be hungry when we leave. Dude, I'm bad about that as well. Like, I brought that giant thing of pepperoni rolls, a bag of chips, M&Ms.
Yeah.
I didn't touch any of it the whole time.
Dude, we were very fortunate. Chad fed us burgers Friday night,
Yeah.
and
Appreciate
a little
Chad.
bit of breakfast on Saturday morning.
Yeah.
That was
I'm
really cool.
weird, like when it comes to events like that, though. I don't eat a whole lot. Like normally
Hey,
I
you
pig out all the
drink.
time, but
You just drink your dinner.
I did. That's all you need, dude. It's a pork chop in a can.
Pork
What
chop.
else you want?
What is a pork loin? Pork shoulder.
That's a whole pork shoulder in a can. Yeah.
That is a point I want to bring up real quick about food is not necessarily event etiquette, but I guess like event tips is prioritize things that are easy to make. So like the little frozen family meals like pasta, stir fry, stuff like that work super good. Shiloh prepped me like kielbasa rice skillet ahead of time that we didn't eat because we had Mexican the second night, which was
it was great.
very good. Big shout out to Chad for picking up the tab for that.
Yeah, it was that was in McKee, Kentucky, and it was like Jalisco, I think.
Yeah.
Something Jalisco Day something.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, it was great.
so
Especially when
good.
you've been in the forest all day trying to put your ignition cover back together and beating on yourself all weekend.
Yeah, agreed. But
those Modelo's get different.
Not that we would ever.
Come on, they know what the name of the podcast is.
Prioritize convenience in your food. Like in the mornings and stuff, I'd always just take like a Cliff Bar. It's not glamorous. If it's cold outside, it's like eating a brick.
Yeah.
But it's calories. And prioritize convenience with like your camping setup. So having something that you either set up before you go ride so you can come back to and it's already set, or something you can put together relatively quickly.
Yeah.
That really helps because you don't want to spend like an hour and a half fiddling with your sleep setup when you're beat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's no fun. It was nice. Obviously, you have the nice soft topper with an awesome setup in the back of the truck, and I was able to borrow Jack's Camprite tent cot, which set up immediately fast. And 15 minutes, bam, you're ready to go in and take a nap if need be.
Yeah,
good stuff.
I agree.
Let's see. Heather also says that event surveys are so valuable. I recommend that to all my event organizer clients after they do the event. Yes, please, to participants filling it out. Yeah, that's such a good tool to have, and like we said, take the time to fill it out. Mr. Tom McConnell says, is that a Coors? Where's the PBR? Yes, sir. It is the banquet Coors. Trevor has the PBR.
I got enough PBR for two of us.
I got enough for four of us, probably.
Well,
I do need to go big up some more Paps. I was at what I like to call the price gouger here instead of the price cutter up above my house here. And the only thing they had was like the 30 packs of the PBR Light, which I haven't tried yet. I don't know.
I'd recommend it. I liked it when I tried it. The only place that has it close to me doesn't keep it in the cooler. So if I buy it, I have to bring it home and then let it chill overnight, which is,
too much work.
Not ideal. I need it now.
Yeah. Listen, we've talked about this before. I think it might be about high time for us to just do a beer episode, right?
What's a beer episode? We just sit around and drink?
Yeah. We'll just stare at the screen and just stare and drink.
We can play the Squidbillies theme in the background.
Sometimes I wish the sun would just explode. I've been to the statue, by the way, in North Georgia.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's in the middle of nowhere.
I mean, that's pretty fitting.
Yeah. Up next is Jim Montaigne. Hey, Jim, how are you, buddy? He says, what's up, guys? He said, by the way, he's been itching so bad to get back and rip. Yeah, he picked up that CF Moto 450 Ibex there a little while back.
Cool.
And, Jim used to rip with us on, I think it was a 1290 Adventure or 1190 big KTM, and he's a heck of a rider. It'd be good to ride with you again, bub. All right. I think that's about all the comments we got tonight. We appreciate that as always. And next up, and we got a few things to talk about this evening, a little bit of industry news. All right. First up tonight, Indian Independence. Polaris has agreed to sell the Indian Motorcycle Company to Carlwood LP, the new financial backer. Indian will now become its own independent brand, which saw $478 million in sales profit last year. So Polaris brought the Indian company back to fruition, and they've done a pretty decent job with it, I would say, all things considered. And now they've mutually agreed to separate, kind of be its own thing. I do know that Polaris has a little bit of a minority ownership interest still in Indian, but they're kind of going to go their own path. So see what happens. I would love for them to come out with some more off-road oriented bikes. I've actually rode one of the FTR 1200s, which is kind of like that dirt tracky scrambler looking Indian. Super impressed with it, man. It ripped, it was comfortable. I mean, I could see the appeal. So we'll see.
It's crazy living in an age of just constant hot potato of like all these brands and all these acquisitions happening. So
yeah, it's something.
Hopefully it pans out well. Same thing we hope for KTM. We just hope it pans out well.
We shall see. To be determined. Up next, we have some news from Italian. A little bit of Desmodon. Ducati has released a enduro model of their Desmo 450.
That is a sweet looking Honda.
It is. Enduro Desmo. Ducati has revealed an off-road version of the Desmo 450 motocross model dubbed the 450 EDX. Changes include an 18-inch rear wheel, off-road suspension valving, and a larger 2.25-gallon fuel tank. The 63 horsepower dual red cam power plant appears to be unchanged, along with the transmission ratios staying the same as well. Trevor, we said this about the Triumph whenever it came out. Could we see a dual sport model of this before too long?
What's your definition of too long?
I'd say within 2 years.
I'd say there's a good chance. This isn't Ducati's first rodeo with a plated off-road oriented bike. They've had the Desert X for a pretty significant period of time.
Yeah, but
it is really interesting seeing Ducati get back into like the off-road only market.
Yeah, for sure. All things that I've ever read or seen or heard people talk about riding the new Desmo 450 are absolutely blown away with it, saying it just it does everything you could possibly want it to do, and it's nimble, light, comfortable. And I mean, we saw the same thing with Triumph when they came out with the 250 motocross and 450 motocross bikes. Wasn't very much longer. There was a cross country only model, and those things come pre-wired with the ability to have blinkers, horn, and everything. So we know that a dual sport Triumph is coming down the pike. So it wouldn't surprise me to see a Ducati version as well.
Yeah. Ducati's valve train's pretty crazy. I'd like to ride one, honestly. A bike with unfloatable valves.
Rev to the moon. The revs are going to the moon.
It's pretty crazy. All things considered, right up until you have to do a Desmo service on one, in which case I might here in like 5 years pick up a Desmo 450 for like a couple grand because the Ducati dealer wants more than the bike's worth to do a Desmo service.
Well, let's face it. If you have the money to buy a Ducati, you're probably not doing your own service intervals.
Well, are you buying a Ducati or are you financing a Ducati?
Probably financing.
Because in the world of Ducati street bikes, it is a common meme almost at this point that like riders are crazy about them right up until the first Desmo service comes due, and then it's on
Facebook Marketplace.
Marketplace. That's where I come in.
Trevor,
I will trade you an aluminum flat bottom boat, no trolling motor, and a Glock 9mm for that Desmo 450.
Let me read the first offer I got for the 500 because you'll like this here real quick. I literally said in the ad, I think it was $4,000 or best offer. Only trades I would consider or a decent driving and running pickup truck because I need a truck. First offer I got. Here we go. Let's see. Hi, is this still available? Yes, it is. I know that you said the only trade you would consider is for a pickup truck, but would you be interested in a 2007 Yamaha V-Star 1100 Classic? No.
I had a guy ask when I was trying to sell Shiloh's car, ask if I would take a Honda 750 Shadow on trade.
Yeah.
No.
The only thing you need is some Miami Vice leisure suit, little helmet.
Now, if he pulled up and offered like an 80s Goldwing, like the road couch, I'd probably take it, honestly.
A Honda Accord with 2 wheels.
Heck yeah.
What else you need?
No
Trevor,
or more ladies in the night.
Yeah. Buddy, I know for the last 3 years we've done this podcast, we've tried to establish ourselves and get some pull, so to speak. And I think we've finally reached that point, because it wasn't just but last week I was bashing Kawasaki on the Facebook page about no news about the adventure middleweight bike.
Yep.
And it was literally 20 minutes after the fact, they released a little video and a little teaser. The KLE 500, we assume, has been confirmed. Kawasaki, which teased us last year at the EICMA show, finally acknowledged its existence. A recent video on their official YouTube channel titled Life's a Rally, Ride It, established 1991, which is when the KLE 500 came about, revealed that the new middleweight adventure model will return with that iconic KLE number plate. The clips show a low front fender, which we can see here in the EICMA picture, spoked wheels, and a single front disc brake, which a lot have speculated indicate an A2 licensure, meaning that it's going to be at least a 500cc or smaller. No further details, but I will say that in the video clip, if you look that up, and I can share that later once we're off camera, the exhaust note and some of the detective and sleuths online have pretty much determined that it is using the Ninja 500 engine in some type of middleweight chassis machine.
Interesting. So that's a very similar approach that Honda took for the Transalp.
Yeah, very similar.
Hopefully it doesn't have an oil sump that hangs down 3 inches under the bike.
You know, I'm kind of surprised though that they didn't go with some type of more off-road oriented Versus, honestly.
It really would seem like a slam dunk to just have better suspension travel, tunable suspension, and a higher ground clearance on a Versus.
Yeah, that CP2 engine has been around for decades at this point. You know, I had my Versus that I converted off-road. Dad has it now, and like that's the only bike he rides. Like, it is such a good platform to just put some better suspension and better wheels and tires on that. And they have everything there to do it. So, I mean, I kind of see a little bit, but you got to think Kawasaki already has the Versus 300X. What more are you gaining with a 500cc parallel twin as compared to a 650? I mean, more is better, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but I guess more choices isn't a bad thing in our sport.
One other thought. Where's the 2-stroke? Where's the Kawasaki 2-stroke?
Every single time Kawasaki posts anything on their social media, that's all it is. It's just 400 people going, "Where's the 2-stroke?
I'm right there with them. Where is it? What'd you do with it?
Where did it go?
Can I have it?
No, you're not allowed. We'll see. Hopefully, we go less than a year now without some type of announcement. So.
Well, April Fool's is just around the corner. So
yeah, we'll just do it then. All right, that's going to lead us to the last segment of the show, a little bit of Had to Lay Her Down.
Did you run into some clippings? Did Barb take the kids? Well, Hoss, maybe you had to lay her down.
Tonight's Had to Lay Her Down is brought to us by Moto Bad on TikTok, of all places. But Trevor, I thought it was high time that we got back to some more traditional had to layer down. A little bit of grass clippings. Ouch. I don't even know what that guy was trying to do there, but looked like he kind of got off the side of the trail and or the road and was trying to follow the sidewalk and cut back onto the highway. It didn't work out too well for him.
Even if that bike wasn't a hardtail, I couldn't tell. It functioned like one. That dude is probably 2 inches taller before that happened.
Oh, that one always, the one that gets me all the time for the Harley is the dude that's like on this main street and they have this sketchy ramp built and he's got this.
Oh, yeah, and he's got a nice
hardtail,
landing ramp, too.
and he overshoots it by like 40 feet and just flat lands on the street.
Yep.
Oh,
Beyond brutal.
had to hurt. Had to hurt. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we appreciate you all tuning in here with us tonight. And as always, we'll catch you next time on Tallboys
And Trackmasters. Thanks for your time.
See y'all.